Is promptography the future of imaging? Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Think Future. My name's Chris Kalaboukis, and once again, we're coming at you live from deep in the heart of Silicon Valley, California. We're talking AI, startups, and the future, not necessarily those, and not necessarily in that order. If you're watching on YouTube, smack that subscribe button and hit that bell so you can be notified when a new show comes online. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast service, please subscribe and please drop a note on Apple Podcasts. I greatly appreciate it. Now, the internet is being flooded, literally flooded, with AI-generated imagery. Absolutely flooded. And some people are like, oh my God, this is the end of the world, especially artists who maybe aren't very good, because they're going, well, if it's creating all this imagery, then what do you need me for? What do you need me to create art if AI can create art that's just as good? Now, if you ask me, the art isn't just as good. It's missing something. There's always something about it. I mean, it creates serviceable works, which you can use, which can be used in particular situations. But it's not great art. And maybe it will be great art at some point, but it's never great art if you ask me. Because if you listen to my last show, I talked about AI and how it works. It's basically something like a super sophisticated autocorrect. So a super sophisticated autocorrect will go back and attempt to create the response that you're looking for based on what's already been fed into it. And it's the same with imagery, with what they're calling now promptography, which is images generated by prompt. And basically what it's doing is that when you say to an AI, when you say create an image of a flying saucer in a field, it's going to go back and look at images of flying saucers, and it's going to look at images of fields, and it's going to construct that from a predefined image of a flying saucer and a predefined image of a field. And the more exacting you are with the prompt, I want the field to be green, I want it to be grass waving, I want the sky to be blue, I want the flying saucer to be silver, whatever. The more exacting you are with the prompt, the more exacting it can create this specific image. But is it photography? No, it's not photography in any way, shape, or form. It is image creation. And it's image creation based on past images. Now, some people could argue, well, people do this all the time. They take past images and they modify them to come up with new images. And if you think about it, that's exactly what these AI, what promptography does. It goes back and looks at your prompt and it says, okay, there's a mountain, there's a river, there's a field, there's a flying saucer, there's da. So it goes in and chops up your prompt into bits. And then it goes, let me go back and get an image of a flying saucer. Let me go back and get an image of a field. Let me go back and get an image of a river. Let me go back and get an image of a mountain. So it takes all of those images and it tries to collapse them into an images which they then present to you. And if you've used this for any length of time, you can understand that a lot of times it will create absolute crap. It will create absolute crap. Sometimes I have to run the exact same query 3 or 4 times before it creates something that resembles anything remotely good. Now, if you're talking about having it duplicate inanimate objects like rocks and streams and fields and flying saucers and things like that, it's actually not too bad at that. But then ask it to do human beings. Ask it to create hands, which are the most difficult things to do with an artist. Ask it to create expressions. Ask it to create people. And it falls apart. I mean, please don't ask it to do anything about yoga poses or anything like that. Anytime it tries to do something, at least in the ones I've been using lately, anytime it tries to put a human into a pose, oh my God, it's terrible. Sometimes they're missing limbs, and it's awful. It's awful. Like I said, it is a sophisticated autocorrect. It's going back and looking at images that are already in existence, that have been fed into it, and it's going, how can I combine these in a way so that the person who's giving me this query gets something like what they're asking for? And you got to understand, it's not going at it and looking at it and going, how do I combine these things in a pleasing way for my human to get the image that they're looking for? Because it doesn't know how to put those together in a pleasing way. It may have all of the history of art. The entire history of art may be embedded in its database, but it wouldn't know that this image is more pleasing than that image, because more than likely, it only has pleasing images in its database. And if it only has pleasing images in its database, it can't do anything on the edge. It can't do anything out of the box. It can't do anything that's edgy or slightly unpleasing or can be controversial. Can it do controversial images? Probably not. Because if you ask it to do controversial images, it's probably put in the same box as other controversies. That's why I was saying before, like, we need a maximally curious AI. We need to allow AI to do whatever it wants. And in a future show, I'm going to talk about what Elon Musk is doing with XAI and how he wants it to be totally unfettered. A totally unfettered AI would create amazing responses and amazing imagery. But are we going to allow it to be totally unfettered? I'd love to see that. So when it comes to promptography, then I say go at it. Because if you think about it, the people who use promptography to create images probably would never have hired an artist anyway. And it's just like every piece of AI. Every other piece of AI is the lower end stuff that isn't particularly challenging for human beings to do will be done by AI. But the higher end stuff that frees human beings up to do the higher end work, the more intelligent work, the more telling work, the more emotionally infused work. AI can't infuse emotion into the work. Humans have to do that. So it frees you up from the stupid work, the inhumane work as an artist, and allows you to spend time to do the human work. And maybe some people don't appreciate that and they don't want to pay you that. But if you think about it, at some point, you're going to have people looking at you and going, you can create better art than this machine. I want to pay you to create the better art so it can be head and shoulders above the stuff from the machine. That's it for me for today. See you next time, and until then, don't forget to think future.